Nazi vs. American Propaganda by Ethan Robinson. The beginning of Nazi propaganda. In 1933, Hitler established the Reich Ministry of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda. The goal of this group was to make sure that the Nazis' message would be seen and known by the citizens of Germany. Their message was shown through plays, pictures, posters, songs, books, and newspapers. Hitler appointed Joseph Goebbels, a politician who fully supported Hitler and shared his hatred for Jews. Goebbels used his anger to fuel his ideas and schemes. He used Nazi propaganda to grab and maintain power, to enforce Nazi policies, and to convince Germany that the extermination of millions of people would make the world a better place. Nazi posters. Many of the German posters supporting the war displayed Hitler on them. In many of them, he is holding the Nazi flag or leading the army. Some of them show him holding a baby surrounded by smiling people. These posters all had one general purpose: to show the world, but mainly the Germans, that the Nazis were doing the right thing and that they were led by a great person who would make the world the way it was supposed to be, without Jews. Other posters depicted Jews on them. These posters represented them as dirty, homeless, and worthless. Radio broadcasts. Goebbels believed that radio broadcasts were the most effective way of affecting the public. He believed that it was easy to listen to the radio at home. Goebbels put Eugene Hadamowski in charge of inspecting radio broadcasts, ensuring that they fit all requirements set by the Nazis. Anything that didn't fit the mold or opposed the Nazis would be shut down. A few problems arose. One of the biggest ones was that not everyone had a radio because they were too expensive. So Goebbels told stores to start selling radios for less money. Soon, most of the German population had a radio and were tuning into the news, radio shows, and other programs, only to be assaulted with a flood of subliminal messaging. American propaganda. Liberty bonds or war bonds are a way to fund military operations and other expenditures. One simply has to subscribe to the bond and their money will be sent to help the cause. In the case of World War I, people would subscribe in order to fund the Allies. With the help of posters posted around town, it was soon seen as one's duty to buy a bond. These posters were posted in streets, by road signs, and in front of theaters. Comic books. Comic book characters such as Superman, Captain Marvel, and Batman were extremely popular in the 1930s. Hundreds of kids were eagerly reading along as their favorite superheroes battled the Nazi scum and Chinese menace. These slightly racist comic books displayed Superman ripping Chinese pilots out of their bomb-filled planes, or Batman trying to sell Liberty bonds. Other characters had entire storylines about joining the Allies. Through these comic books, the media could influence children and convince them to support the war.
Movies. During World War II, many movies were made to instill patriotism in the hearts of viewers. The movies would show brave men fighting for the Allies and evil Nazis plotting horrid schemes. This propaganda was aimed towards anyone who might support the U.S. Movies such as It's Everybody's War and War Department Report were even nominated for the Oscars. These movies had a huge effect on the population. I Have Lived 1,000 Years. Nazi propaganda depicted Jews as if they were less than human, and that is what they were made into in I Have Lived 1,000 Years. Jews had their names and identity stripped from them. They were beaten, starved, and killed. Jews in the Holocaust were dehumanized because of what they were made to seem like by the posters and other forms of propaganda. Maus. Just like all propaganda, Maus is designed to make you do or think something. The book depicts Jews as mice and Nazis as cats. Even though this book was published years after the war ended, it still tries in every way it can to prove how evil the Nazis were. A Separate Peace. In A Separate Peace, many of the boys at the school wanted to enlist and fight for the Allies. Once many of the kids had their minds set on the military, the rest wanted to follow. Thus, the opinions of others can drastically affect someone's choices. Stanley Milgram experiment. In this test, we saw that people will follow orders from an official, even if those orders go against their moral code. The average person can do horrible things if they will not be blamed for it, and if they are told to. If an important person like Hitler or Uncle Sam was shown on a poster telling someone to enlist or help the army, they would feel obliged to do so. Stanford Prison Experiment. This one is pretty easy to relate to propaganda. Once the people of Germany started to believe that they were better than Jews and everyone else who was hated, they felt anger and a sense of being better than them. I can't believe my eyes. This experiment showed us the effect that one's peers can have on decisions. Although it doesn't perfectly reflect propaganda, it is related. Ideas would be spread throughout the community because of the propaganda. Anyone who didn't agree with Nazi ideals would be pressured into acting like they did, and might even start to believe the same thing. This is just like the test with the lines.
Blue eyes, brown eyes experiment. I think that this study reflects many of the qualities of the posters displayed in Germany. The posters made Jews seem like they were lesser than the blonde and blue-eyed Germans. After they began to believe that they were superior to Jews, Germans started to feel hostility towards them. This is just like in the study where the children were told that they were superior to their peers. They began to mistreat them. Unfortunately for us, people really like to fit in. We want to possess the qualities that we admire, and unfortunately, propaganda can be used to affect our emotions and play with our patriotism. In the case of the Holocaust, citizens of the United States and of Germany were convinced to support and pay for one of the bloodiest wars in the history of the world.